Hey YouTube, I'm itching to have another project in this Sun-Lite 16BH camper, and I'm thinking about this radio here. I never, ever use this. I used it once when I first got the camper and tried it out, and I hate the way it sounds. I just don't like it. I use a Bluetooth speaker for listening to music, and it's just better than this for my purposes. So I'm thinking about what can I do with this. I thought about just replacing it with a nicer one, but I probably wouldn't use that either. So I'm thinking, since this draws from the 12-volt power from the batteries of the trailer itself, what if I were to remove this thing altogether, just take it out, get rid of it, and then use this space as a little shelf where I could charge my phone, charge the batteries for my camera, my drone, all that other kind of stuff. It might be nice just to have a little place to kind of store stuff that needs charging. And I'm thinking that my phone will probably fit in there just about right. Be a nice little place to slide it in and just kind of keep it out of the way. I don't know. I'm thinking, but I'm not sure if this is going to work because I had this microwave out before. Let me say that. And I know the back behind this thing is just a bunch of wires. All the power wires go by and stuff like that. And the miscellaneous things associated with this, which include the HDMI cable and I think the cable wires back there or something. I don't know, but there's some other little bits and bobs for that. Boy, look at that dog out there. He's such a good-looking dog. Every time I see my dog, I'm like, man, it's just a good-looking dog. We're not here to talk about Ricky, though. So I'm going to see what's back there, if there's enough space, because it's pretty deep here, but I don't want to get myself into a thing where I'm having to rewire or bundle things up or something, and then there's all this dead space up here, too. I'm just kind of wondering, what could I do back there? So if you're seeing this video made it to YouTube, then I did something worth watching, I suppose, but at this point I really don't know. I'm going to first just try to take this thing out. I'm pretty sure that these panels here just pop off, and then there's probably screws behind that. So let me see. Let me get this off. Let's look behind it and see if there's anything even worth doing here. All right, so let's try popping these off here. I don't really care if I scratch this thing. One way or another, I think it's coming out, but I don't want to mess up the paneling behind it. Okay, well, there's one. And yeah, there's Phillips head screws behind it, so let's get the other. Oh great, it's turning on. That's all I need. Turn off. The thing sounds awful. And it's also, it's one of those things that just makes me a bit paranoid that it's drawing power from the battery when I don't want it to. If all of this works out as I plan, I'll have like a switch back there with USB connectors on it where I could just physically turn it off to make sure. But anyways, let's get these 4 Phillips head screws out of here. All right, there's 4 screws, and then hopefully this thing just lifts right out. It sure does. Oh, that's tight back there. All right, first off, right off the bat, this is more narrow. I figured the gap was going to be wider. I don't want to be cutting into this stuff here. So I'm already feeling a little bit doubtful. But there is plenty of space back there. Would my phone even fit in there? My phone will still fit. Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. Let me get a flashlight. All right, so sawdust, and it looks like, I always wondered, like this paneling here, right? When you put something in there, it's not resting on this. It's resting on another piece of paneling. So there's like a gap there about this, you know, about that wide more or less, a little bit less than that, but you can see, hopefully you can see that the wires for all this stuff travel, they're sandwiched in 2 pieces of paneling like that. So that's interesting to know. You can see back there, that's just a piece of plywood that's unfinished. And then this piece here, you can't see it, but I can feel with my fingers. This piece here is just stapled to the back of this. So this would pop out very easily if I wanted to. I could pop that out and have a taller space back there. But then This here, I don't want to remove this. These pieces here add structural strength for all this, you know, because this is 3/4 inch, more or less, maybe 1/2 inch, 5/8 or something. But this is important to keep, in my opinion anyways. So if I pop this out, then I'd have a little cubby here, and then possibly a bigger cubby above it. That might work. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. You're watching me think about what I want to do with this, if I want to do anything at all. Why is this speaker wire tied in a knot? Like, this is the kind of weird, it doesn't hurt anything, it's just a weird bit of stuff they did. So let's look at the power here. So the yellow, I don't know why they've got, I guess this orange might be like the, if this was in a vehicle, this would be like the switch on power. But at any rate, this is your constant power. And they got it coming here, and then the black is going to be the ground. All these other things I could just get rid of. They're not necessary. But I could run the outlet that I'd like to put back there, that would be USB. All it would need are the 2 wires, the ground and the constant power. And it has a built-in switch, the one I'm thinking of getting. So that would be fine. Wiring wise, it would be good. I just don't know. I haven't decided what I want to do with this gap. Having this little cubby by itself, well, first of all, if that was a shelf back there, it'd be awfully dark back there. When I put the flashlight, you could see it goes back pretty far, and I can make it go back as far as I want. There's no other wiring in the way of that. Well, there is, because I got, what is this green and black? Green and white, I should say. Is this a speaker wire? No, that's regular wire. So this is a regular straight up power wire. It probably goes to this light right here. I bet you it goes to the light above the sink. So that's in the way. At any rate, that's a problem, having wiring going down through the floor of that. So the bottom line is, if I were to put a shelf in here, it would have to be level with this, because of the wires that go into the sandwich part here. Those are power wires. I don't want to get involved in moving all that stuff around. And because of that, I don't even know if there's a value in doing this, unless I put it up here. Now, what if I disconnect all the wires, pop this out, and make this a little shelf up here? And then I could just take the wires and run them to the bottom or something, or around the back. That gets a little bit more complicated. Let me think about that. All right, I've come to a decision. Popping this out here is not going to work out. I mean, I could do it, but it would just be a lot of work for very little gain. What do they say? The juice is not worth the squeeze. The juice of popping this out is not valuable enough to go through all the trouble of squeezing it. But those wires way up at the top up there, they go into the ceiling, and I'd have to kind of bend them back at a right angle. And this is just about 2 inches right here. So all those wires would have to be bent back 2 inches to make clearance to put a proper little cubby in this space. So that's not going to happen. I'm not doing that. I am determined to do something though. And here's what I'm thinking. I don't want this radio. Its existence bothers me, just the fact that they put this in here. I'm a music snob, so this kind of thing bothers me. I'm going to disconnect all of this stuff here. I'm going to run the power wires from here down through, and I'm going to put my little USB outlet here from the bottom. And rather than have a cubby, when I'm charging up my stuff, this is simply going to be the shelf. This thing right here works fine for phones, and my batteries and everything will be perfectly fine there. It's not going to be something that is utilized while I'm in transit, you know. And that'll be simple, because at the bottom, way back there, you could see kind of where that light is shining. There's nothing. There's the hole where those wires go through otherwise, but there's nothing in the way back there. So that's the plan. Outlet down here. It's going to have, I think, 4 USBs on it, 2 old-fashioned and 2 new USB-Cs, I'm pretty sure, and a power switch. And then all of this will get disconnected. What's going to be in this hole No cubby. This is 4 inches by 4 inches, more or less, maybe like 3 inches, 3.5 inches or so by 3.5 inches. There's nothing I can really use that for. Silverware possibly, you know, but I'd have to build a whole little thing around it. It's mainly because of what's going down into the floor part of that. If that hole wasn't right there, I would have no qualms about building a nice little tunnel back there with a nice backing and stuff like that. So I'm going to cover this gap with something else though. What I'm going to cover it with, I don't know. I might just put a photo there. Not a piece, not a piece of paper. This photo over here. This is on wood. I had this put on wood. And I like photography, and this is not the greatest picture I ever took. I'm not saying that, but I have taken some nice pictures. But you can see the wood grain in it. It's kind of a neat thing. This is at Soldiers Summit in Utah. Soldiers Summit is like it's basically a ghost town now. But this was the Joshua Day cabin. And on the side of it, it said, the remnants of Joshua Day. Apparently he's the guy that lived there. And I always thought it was a cool spot because he must have built this cabin probably in the early 1900s, or maybe it could be as late as mid-century, you know, 1940s, 50s or something. But he went to the trouble to put some color on it. And anytime you see these pioneer cabins or just these weirdo rustic people cabins, they very rarely go through the trouble to color them in any manner. But someone did that, and it's a beautiful, beautiful spot. But see how this is printed on wood? I might just do a little square like that, a little 4-inch square, and then just stick that right here. In fact, I'm just about certain that's what I'm going to do to get rid of this abomination of a stereo. Let me get started by taking all this apart and ordering the outlet that I intend to put here. All right, just to be safe, I am unplugged and the switch is off, so the battery's disconnected. No lights, and just making sure everything is dead. Okay, let me go ahead and snip all this nonsense. Just got to point this out. As somebody who has installed his fair share of car stereos over the years, this is a 4-speaker head unit. This was in a vehicle, there'd be front and rear speakers, right? In this case, it's inside and outside speakers. Well, they got 2 speaker wires, which is wrong. There should be 4 speaker wires because there's 4 speakers. Each one has a positive and a negative. They just divided the positive and the negative across the green and the white, which would be like, I guess, front and rear, but not left and right channels of front and rear. So that's one of the reasons why this thing sounds so sucky, is because you're not even getting a stereo sound out of it. They're not using the left and the right, they're just using the front and the rear, or the inside and the outside. These other wires here that have 2 colors on them, but these must be like the left channel. And they've got everything split across the right channel. So you're getting this crappy mono signal. This thing probably, they have a label right here that tells them what to do, and they still didn't do it right. I know these things are made by Amish people, so I get, like, if you're Amish, you might have never installed a car stereo before, but if they can figure out how to install a microwave and lights and all this other electric stuff, why couldn't they figure out, they got an air conditioner, for crying out loud. That's got to be more complicated to install than speakers, but they didn't do it right. I'm blaming this thing the whole time, because you get a hum out of it. It sounds miserable. The polarity just sounds terrible, and I just assumed those crappy speakers and a crappy head unit, but I think the main reason is they just didn't install the thing right. So that's a disappointment. But it's coming out anyways. I don't give it a crap. So I'm just going to tuck the speaker wires back up in there, and I got everything snipped. I'm going to leave the cable and the HDMI cable. I'm just going to tuck those back there too, because they're not hurting anything. They're not electrified or whatever. The only thing that's got power to it are those 2 wires right there in my ground and my constant power, and those are going to go to the outlet. I had to order the outlet I want. Unfortunately, Lowe's only sells USB outlets if they're like for regular household outlets, but I need one that's made for 12 volt. All right, a couple days later, here's what I got. It's got 2 old USBs and 2 USB-Cs, and then your 2 wires, and this just kind of is like a spacer for it. And then once it's screwed in place with those 2 screws, it has this cover that goes over top of it. And then as far as this hole goes, got this photo of Ricky. I tried getting something printed on wood. Tried getting something printed on wood like I had elsewhere, you know, but no one will make it on wood this small. And because the way the wood is finished on those things, if I were to get one bigger and just cut it myself, the edges would look, I don't want to go through all the work, to be honest with you. I don't want to be bothered refinishing something, you know. So this frame will go up there. I've got 3 screws. It'll fit in. It kind of matches. It's not so bad. I don't know if you're able to see this or not based on this camera, but this is where the switch will go, like that. Put that in there like that. And it's got a door on it, which I don't see the value of this door. I really don't. Wonder if I could... Yeah, that door just pops off, so I don't need that door. But this screw is going to go through here. And then I already got a hole for that, which I know you can't see, but trust me, it's there. Yo, it's a fiddly little spot to put this thing, I'll say that much. This is pretty hard to explain. Okay, so I got the 1 screw in, and I'm kind of already seeing a problem with the way this is set up here. Let me unscrew that a little bit. The reason I got it, the reason I got it so far back in the corner is that there's like a piece of wood in here. You know, this is hollow. The screw won't bite into anything there, but there's a piece of wood here as part of the framing. I'm crimping those wires back there. So at the same time, I'm crimping those wires back there. So I need to readjust this. Hang on. Okay, I just had to reposition this over a little bit so that those wires go right up through that hole. I don't want them crimping against the, you know, I just don't want them crimping. Okay, that's how I wanted it. Again, it's right up in this corner here because there's a piece of the framing right there. So this way it has something to bite to. And then this one just goes into this 1/8 inch piece of panel, but it ain't going nowhere. It's nice and sturdy. Took the door off, got my 4 things there, and it's got a power button here. So I just need to connect everything up now, and should be good. I had to widen that hole in the back because I thought that maybe I could get both of my hands in this opening to tie the wires together, but I can't. I can't fit both of my hands in there. Once I tie the switch to this, I can't get it back up with the nuts on the wires unless I widen that hole. So it looks ugly, but it'll be covered, so I think it'll be all right. So white is ground. I think that's the case with all these trailers. And then black is ground on the switch. Red is your hot wire. And on my trailer, this is a brown and white. So the hot wire that went to the radio before was the brown and white. Let me go and power on the battery of the camper here so I can get some lights, and then we'll see if it works before I try fishing everything back up. Okay, moment of truth. Here's the on-off button, little power switch. Hey, it works. All right, that's good. I'm going to cut the power off just to be on the safe side, and hopefully I could fish everything back up and screw this thing in place without making anything worse. All right, so there she is, nice and flush. All the wiring is good. It's working. Got my little shelf on top of the window. And then inside here, put some electrical tape on those nuts just to be on the safe side. But that's all tied in. Now let's just go ahead and cover up this hole here with a picture of Ricky. All right, there we have it. Even if this switch doesn't last, I got a feeling this thing's going to probably last like a couple months and the switch is going to fail. Even if that's the case, I like having this picture of Ricky. Look at that. I talk about him when he comes in and say hi, huh? The little boy who's on say hi. He's going to try to go into bed. All right, you can go into bed. That's fine. We're going camping in a week. Right now it's a Sunday. A week from now, Ricky, we'll be somewhere nice. Yeah, we'll be somewhere nice a week from now. But until then, we're here in my driveway. But anyways, what I was saying is, yeah, I'd rather look at Ricky than that radio anyhow. So even if this switch ends up failing at some point, so be it. But I'll use it and we'll see. I'll put a link to this thing in the description of this video. I don't know if I'm the only person. I might be the only person that would even consider doing something like this. But if you are interested in doing this kind of thing, I'll put that link. I'll put a link to this picture frame too while I'm at it, because I got this on Amazon as well. So Nice little project here for the weekend. I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.